and see what I've done and the distance I've done, I'll feel happier with myself having done this little bit of extra. It's only about 1 big K, do this little loop, but I'll feel better with myself than I would if I had not done it. And when I get home, I would be saying to myself, oh, you could have done that bit, you should have done that bit. It wasn't that hard, you should have just done it. So here we are. Now you can see that the slope wasn't all that big. Well, it wasn't a really big hill. I'm happy that I ran it and got up here and make a right hand turn just ahead here. Go back down. I was just checking to see if the recording LED is still red, and it is. And I guess that means it's still recording and you've still got me to listen to. My feet thumping on the footpath, my heavy breathing and so on. One tradesman who's not having a day off today. Not sure what my plans will be for the rest of the day. Probably get home, have a shower and some breakfast, and then take my dog for a walk, and then I'll process this footage, or some of it. As you probably know if you've watched my other videos, camera tends to break the recording up into clips that are about 3.5 gig or somewhere around 15 minutes long, which I guess equates to about something like 3 k's. So I think by the time I get home this will be going on for like 13 k's. So that'll probably be 4 or maybe 5 clips if everything's working properly. So obviously I'm not going to upload all of that in one go. I've got some footage of a recent motorcycle ride I'm still working on and uploading, so I'll probably spend a bit of the time doing that. And then my dog Butch will decide about lunchtime he needs to take another turn around the neighbourhood. That'll be my day. Whatever you're doing the rest of your ANZAC Day, I hope you enjoy it. Doing come with your family. I suspect all the mums in particular will be glad when school goes back tomorrow. I think when the truth is told, kids are too, because they like to be with their friends. They like to be out. They like to be at school with their friends. And even though they say they hate school, I think the truth is, and I think we learned that during the many COVID lockdowns, that they really do like to be there and be with their friends. Good morning. Those of you who watched my last video called Running the Tillage, you'll recognise this area here as being part of that run. All this housing estate behind me is called the Tillage. I'm not sure how they came up with that name. There used to be just one house on this huge block of ground, or on a block of ground, and then there was all this other land around it, which has now become the estate. But the people who lived on that house, they didn't have any, there was no farming. There were a couple of cows, but I think they belonged to people on the other side of the road. So I don't know how the name came around, because there didn't seem to be much tilling of the soil, if that's what the name's meant to imply. There's a estate in front of me here. It's called Belmore Estate. I don't know how it got its name either, but there is a Belmore Park, as you know if you're a local, in the middle of town. It got its name from I think he was the governor, a bloke called Belmore, and his wife Lady Belmore. He was Sir somebody Belmore and she was Lady Belmore, and they came to Goulburn in the 1860s or something or other, when the railway line to Goulburn opened, and there's a giant oak tree in the middle of Belmore Park. It was planted by Lady Belmore, and it's called the Lady Belmore tree for that reason, that she planted to mark her visit. I think that area before that might have been called Market Square, because one side of it is Market Street and the other side where the courthouse is called Montague Street, and it used to be where the weekly markets would sell their produce and so on. It was. And after the visit of the governor and his wife, as I say, I think he was the governor, but after that visit, it became known as Belmore Gardens for a while, and then at some stage the name changed again to Belmore Park. Now, I don't know if this Belmore estate is named to honour that. You know, they took the name from there, or people who owned this land were called the Belmores, I don't know. But it's an estate that's on my right here is called Belmore Estate. Talking about Belmore Park, as I said, is in the centre of the main street. There's an awful lot of history in that park. And by that I mean there are lots of memorials that were built, trees planted and so on, that mark special occasions in Goulburn's history. The rotunda itself, the fountain, there's an obelisk, like a stone column, the Lady Belmore tree as I mentioned, and several other trees. If you're a local and you haven't ever taken the time to walk around and look at some of those parks, do so, and you'll learn a little bit about the early history of the town. If you're a visitor and you're pulled into the visitors information centre to charge up your Tesla, then go through the park. There's a couple of cafes in Auburn Street directly opposite the park where you can get yourself a coffee, and while you're waiting for your EV to charge to 80%, take a bit of a walk around the park and read some of those plaques and learn a little bit about the history of Goulburn. It's the first inland city in Australia, and I don't remember the exact details. I think it might have been Queen Victoria who granted it the right to be called a city, and it was the first city outside of the coastal ones, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, so on. It was the first place inland to be declared a city. And at one stage, in keeping with that idea of a city, I thought one of the things that determined if your place got to be called a city was it had to have at least one cathedral. Well, Goulburn at one stage had, and still has, two cathedrals. That is the Anglican Cathedral of St Saviour's and the Catholic Cathedral, which I think it's called St Peter and Paul's, but it's now called the Old Cathedral because both the Anglican and Catholic dioceses are now based in Canberra, and so although these buildings were designated cathedrals when they were built, they're not the centre of the diocese or the archdiocese or whatever it is. But we did have these two will still have these two magnificent cathedrals among the other historic buildings in our town. Alright, well, you recognise this little switchback area coming down to the pedestrian bridge. Marsden Bridge is above me there to the right, and I'll get across the pedestrian bridge and then the last couple of 100 metres to the finish line of the park run and bring you out on Marsden, in the car park in Marsden Weir, where people gather on a Saturday for the park run, and then be up Fitzroy Street and Deccan Street back home. This is Wallandilly River, so the same river crossed earlier at the Rossi Bridge. For those who are interested, it eventually flows into part of the Nepean River catchment, I think, and flows eventually into Warragamba Dam. Quite a ways from here to Warragamba Dam, and quite a bit of water under various bridges before it gets there. That's where it ends up. About this point on a Saturday, I'm doing the park run, as you can see I'm coming to the end of it, and just ahead here is the start line, so I'm getting ready to take this bend and start to put on a bit of a burst of speed up this rise here and around the bend and head to the finish line, which is at the top of the next rise. So I put on a bit of a sprint to get there. I'm not going to do that today, because I've still got 2 k's to get home. Always try to have the big finish. Right here.